The Visor Center. Make no expectation as you revise, rewrite, and repeat. Make no expectation that whoever is going to read your paper is going to catch every mistake. As a matter of fact, they might not even be that familiar with you with AP. But if they can find one sentence that can be improved, comparative advantage, they helped you, okay? But they are not, Visor Center or anybody else that reads your material is not a panacea. Panacea is the word for the day. Solving all problems. Even when the assistants read your work, they're not going to catch every mistake. They're going to try to help you improve your work. Do you understand? What? Oh, man, do you not? That's on tape, my friend. Be careful. Because I won't. I mean, Melissa's going to come to my office because she's been to the Visor Center. She said people read it. She said these folks read it. And then she's going to bring in, I'm not going to catch every mistake. I'll try to help you make it better. Okay? So that's the first thing I want to say. There are a couple other things I want to say. Second thing, every lead, and do I expect that you read the material in the book? I demand it. And in the book, what does it say a lead should be less than? 30 words. Very good. We can't make it explicitly clear what we make explicitly clear in the book at every moment. So I expect you want to read the material in class to know that your lead should be under 30 words. Okay? The third thing I want to say is, yes, sir. Do you write a headline for the when you work at the Pantograph? Do you, or does the editor who does page layout? Does the editor who does page layout write that? Why do they write that headline? And because it fits, right? You don't know how many column inches you have for the headline. So what the editor does when they lay it out is they decide what the headline's going to be. You as a reporter don't, generally. Okay? But Joe's question is excellent, man. Bam! Because one thing I need to say is you need a 2 to 3, maybe 4 word slug. But don't make it longer than that. And what is a slug? Some kind of description of what the story is. So your editor can glance at it and know what it's about. Yes? What? Yes, you do it in the press release. And actually that makes me have another question. Is in the examples in the textbook of press release stories, do you notice there's a header? You need the header. You need when it's to be released, what does it deal with, what's the subject that it deals with, and contact information. Why is contact information so important for a press release? When the reporter asks questions after they read your press release, you want them to know who they can contact to get more information or to get more quotes, etc. So if you're doing a press release, you need some kind of header that says at least RE, a slug, which a slug is what? Raise your hand, come on. Yes, Nick. 3 to 4 words that says school shooting, ISU school shooting. Right, and in line with Joe's comment, a form of that could also make it as a headline. But don't assume you can write the headline, because usually, I mean, when I was when I was the high school editorial page editor, I wrote the headlines and according to how much space I had, okay? Yes, ma'am, question. Yes. Okay, it should have a reason though. Look at the examples. Above it should say what the reason for the press release is. There's a title to a press release in all the examples. Why? I mean, do you guys understand what a press release does when you send it to a radio station, a TV station, or a newspaper? What does it do? It lets the reporter or the assignment editor lets them know what's going on. Demonstration in support of, I don't know, driver's license voter registration, okay? You need a title or else they got to read the whole press release to know what the story's about, and it's just going to hit the recycling bin. Does that make sense? So it's not a slug per se, but it is a title of whatever the press release is. So it is 2 to 3 words that said what it is. And at the top of these, it usually says RE. That's how I do it. RE. Protest in support of new regulations for driver's license or something like that. And that's almost too long, okay? Very good question, though. But do you understand why you need some kind of title for your press release? Yeah. So the news director, because what happens in the morning is the news director's passing out stories, and if they can't tell quickly what your story's about, they're going to go on to somebody else's press release. Question. Yes, sir. Yeah, you might do that. Now, you got to decide. It's inverted pyramid, so you got to decide how important that is. And whether it is a whole paragraph or just a line. Yeah, I wouldn't do any smaller text, but you might want to include it, I think. I mean, you want to know what the company's about. Does that answer your question? Excellent. Yes? Well, media alert is more the facts, less inverted pyramid. A media alert tends to be shorter, could even be one paragraph. But we'll talk about that for PR. I mean, really, a media alert is a kind of press release. It's just very short. And we want longer than that for this, according to Hoyle Straight press release. Cool? What's that? Well, that's what I said. It's usually shorter. Okay, what, Joe? I said shorter, and then you said what? Quicker. Okay.
It's released sooner.
Well, you know, I mean, a press release proper should be released 10 days. My research indicates 10 days out, 7 days out, 4 days out, and then the night before the event. So, I don't know. I guess it could be shorter, but I'll send a press release out. You know, my research indicates the organization most successful send a press release out arrange. I usually think of a media release or as a media alert as something much shorter. And it could be another reminder that day, especially as we head to Twitter, you know. Yes?
Okay, so in the header for the, not the press releases, but the actual straight news story?
Yes.
Is that where the slug goes, at the bottom of the header, like in the examples, or is it supposed to be like...
Yeah, no, that's a great place for it. Just have a header there. I think your name, the date, and then some kind of slug.
And should we put the class in there just because it's a class assignment?
Sure, I guess so. Yeah, why not? Okay. Sure. And we're not going to take off if you don't put COM161, I don't think. Are you? Yeah. No, we're not. But, okay, good question, Summer. Sure, put COM161. Okay, well, yeah, and I'm telling you, some things are going to matter more than others. And I'm telling you what matters. Okay. And that slug matters. Another thing, do we use contractions in a straight news, print news story? No. Why not? Why don't we use contractions? Yes. It's not as formal, as professional. Now, we're going to change that when we talk about broadcasting, but don't avoid contractions. Okay? Comprende? Because we have a higher level of formality when it deals with print than when we do with broadcasting.
Unless it's like part of a quote, right?
Unless it's part of a quote. That's a great point, Nick. If it's a contraction in a quote, we would do that. But when it comes to our writing, we're going to avoid contractions. Cool? I think I covered, I just wanted, and again, most of this stuff, I will assume that you read the material in the book, and I can't cover it all. That's why we have the textbook. I also just want to posit that you guys, what are you bringing to class on Friday? A news feature. And they're going to give, they lobbied today for me to give you a few points for bringing it. So, you know, thank these guys. I would think you'd want to bring it to learn, but far be it for me to think that that's our goal. But besides that, let me say this, all right? Hey guys, you have a meeting with Bubby. He's going to spend $12,000 at your station to write advertising. You show up 7 minutes late and say your printer didn't work. What does Bubba say? Huh? He says, man, I don't know if I want to spend money with you all. And I'm thinking about the departed. I'm the guy that does my job. You must be the other guy. I'm going to the CBS affiliate with this money. Do you understand what I'm saying? You show up 10 minutes late, Bubba's gone. He's already down in the diner talking to his other VFW friends or whatever that it might be. You know, he's gone. Do you understand that? So that means on Friday, look, I already told you this. When I'm doing my professional work, when do I print it out? If I'm going to LA to do pitches to Universal and to FX, when do I print up my pitch on paper? No, actually, I do it the night before I'm going to leave here to then go to LA. Do you understand that? I don't want to put anything at risk. And then if I change it that night and I print it up again the next morning right before I leave, all the better. But at least I have some versions that I'm carrying with me. Does that make sense? Showing up there, and then I'm having a meeting with Warner Brothers, and they go, we love this idea. Can we have a pitch on paper? And for me to go, my printer didn't work. You know what I mean? I've missed an opportunity. Do you understand what I'm saying? What am I saying? Somebody tell me. Raise yes, ma'am. Print it out the night before? Why? So you have a copy, because Bubba doesn't care about your printer problems. If you can get your printer to work and can't show up to a meeting with a copy of it from a printer, Bubba does not want to do business with you. Is that cool? Look, man, we don't want to. I mean, I don't think drill sergeants like being mean. They just have to, because they're going to train guys that are going to be like protecting your kids someday. And, you know, did your mother have any children that lived? You know what I mean? I don't even think they're angry. Who's been in the military? Andrew? Do you have a drill sergeant? 4. I think they just do what they do because it's what they do. Like, they're not really emotionally attached, but they have to act like they are. What's that? Yeah, well, that's their job, though, isn't it? I mean, because they need to get you strong, Joe. So when you're at that DMZ and there's that Korean across the way, man.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, here's my deal. As we're not trying to be mean, hey, pardon me. Hey, guys, if you would. We're not trying to be mean, Summer. We're just trying to do our job. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't teach you the professional expectations. You guys get that? You're like, oh yeah, of course. You guys are gonna love it when you're working somewhere, you're doing an intern, and you're like, wow, I turned my stuff in on time. And these other interns from Eastern Illinois and Evanston, they were late. My boss thought I was cool. You're gonna go, I'm so glad they busted my teaching me to turn stuff in. Yeah, chops. Taylor, did you give me that? Thank you, sir. Chops. All right? So we're not trying to be mean. We're not sadists. We're not. But we would be remiss in our duties. We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't teach you professional standards. What? Sadist. Okay. All right, but let's talk. We were talking about inverted pyramid style. And we were talking specifically about news elements. What are news elements? Man, this is on the test. I told you it's on the test. You need to write it down. Everybody's hand should be up. Well, yes, ma'am. The 5 W's and the H. Now, sometimes we don't have to include all of those, but we do need to include the important ones. Where in an inverted pyramid news story? Yes. Right at the top. In our lead. And our lead should be how long? 30 words or less, okay? 30 words or less. And we're including the who, what, where, when, why. Maybe the how, okay? So we're including the news elements in the lead because we're moving from most important to least important. Cook and get into this thing, will you? Here you go. I want you to go to where we were the other day. That'd be a great place to start. Just advance it, man. All right, now I want to delineate between news elements and news values. Write down the word news values. All right? And what are news values? What are news values? Yes, sir, Nick.
In other words, like what should be expected from the news?
What's to be expected from news? Why are stories important? News values, write it down. It's on the test. You will know the difference between news values. I sound like a drill sergeant, don't I? News values and news elements. News values are, why do people care? Okay? And actually, not only do the editors just use this, assignment editors, news directors use news values to determine which stories to cover, but also you need to consider them when you're deciding what most important to least important is. Okay? And these are like, news values are like timeliness. What is timeliness? Stop the presses, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Like, is that timely? Stop writing. Do you have timeliness down? How many people have written down timeliness? Raise your hand. Or, yeah. Okay, don't write anymore. What does timeliness mean? I mean, yeah, how current? How about that? Like, did it happen yesterday? Is it now? The word news denotes new. If it's information we already have, we want to know what's happening now, what's recent. All under that should be timely. It's recent. It's happening now. It's new information. That's timeliness. Okay? Versus significance. What's another reason why it might be relevant? Now, Deb Lesser says significance and timeliness are the two most important news values when it comes to radio. All right? Is audio working? Okay, great. I'll divide significance into two different elements. The first one is impact. Okay? Impact is how deeply did it affect each individual? Impact. How much did it affect each individual? If I got my pinky cut off, it's not as significant, or it doesn't have as much impact as if my arms were cut off. Do you understand that? Impact is on how deeply it affects one person. The next element is what? Magnitude. And what do you think magnitude then is? Yes, sir. Joe or Sam. How many people were impacted? How many people were affected by it? If 40,000 people lost their pinky, right, that has much magnitude because many people were impacted. Is it more important that 40,000 people lost their pinky or that 20 people lost their arms? I don't know. That's a judgment, and writing is all about making choices. But do you see then, significance to me, a very important news value has two components: impact, how much each person is affected, and magnitude, how many people are affected. You got that? There's other news values like proximity. What does that mean? Closeness, that's exactly right. Geographic propinquity. And there's an example in the book that I'm living over at the time I owned a house over on on High Point, which is over by Jewel off of Cottage. And they come on the news and say there's a tiger got loose at the market exit of I-55. Yeah, my kids were out in the backyard playing. All right, and it's like a mile and a half from my house. Do I care about it? Yes. Come on, kids. There's a tiger out, and it's not Hobbs. You know what I mean? It's not Calvin and Hobbs, right? So come on in, right? Now, if there's a story and it's that a tiger got loose on a highway in Beijing, do I care as much about it? No, because it doesn't have the proximity. It doesn't have the propinquity. It doesn't have, it's just not close to where I live, okay? Personalization. Yes, ma'am. Make the story connect some way. Give it a human face. I mean, this is what Oprah did really good. She'd take a general issue and then give a few people who'd be on her show as a personal example of what that story means to real people. And it also might be connected to you. Like, okay, the state legislature voted to increase tuition. How's that going to affect you as an ISU student? That's an element of personalization, all right? Also, prominence. What is prominence? You can now write down prominence is another news value. What's that? What's that? Importance, but Very good. How popular, famous? If I walk across the Marriott lobby over off of North Street, nobody cares. But if Tom Cruise does, it's news, right? So it's got to do with celebrity and fame. I hate to admit it, but yesterday we saw One Direction. This Is Us. I took Maggie and Woody. I took Woody out of school an hour early. He had an appointment. Anyways, they're musicians, so I wanted to teach them. But they talked about fame. I mean, if One Direction...
Do you feel like a better person after yourself?
I feel like a dad who's trying to teach his kids something about enjoying playing music. How about that? But no, most of the time I was on my cell phone. We were the only people in there. I'd run up there and lecture them. Look at this. They're trying as hard as they can. Then I was in the back texting. So most of the time I was on the phone, actually, outside. Anyways, I did my best to be a good dad. Okay, the point is that if One Direction runs into a plate glass window and the guy gets a bloody nose, it's news. If I do it, it's just Dr. McHale, another day in the life. You see what I'm saying? That's the idea of prominence. The idea of popularity is important there. Conflict. This is another news value. It's really got to do with that dramatic element of this person competing against that person or this country against. We love conflict, and that's why we like what? Somebody raise your hand. Yes. Drama. That's the. Whose lab are you in? Whose lab? Downey. This guy. What's your name? Chris. Give him an extra smiley face. Conflict's all about the drama, man. We want to know the good guy versus the bad guy, or the love and hate fighting in that interlocking, endless battle, right? We like conflict, and that's one thing. If your story's got a lot of conflict, I mean, like the Tanya Harding, and what was the other woman's name? Yeah, man, we're one like hired somebody to crack the knee of one of the figure skaters. I mean, who cares? You guys figure skating from 18 years ago? Like, we care. But it's got drama. It's got conflict. What's your name again? Chris. Got it, man. You nailed it. And so, to that extent, what we want to do is identify and highlight the conflict, maybe, right? If it's in the story. Man, what I want is like One Direction, like fights with, I don't know. Is there another boys band worth a damn? In Sync, but they're old guys now, right? Yeah! One Direction beats the crap out of Boobner. That's conflict. This also got novelty. Novelty, this last thing, how many people, novelty is another news value. How many people saw, Ron Burgundy is coming out with a new movie. Yeah, Anchorman. This cat water skis, remember that story? Like, who cares? But this squirrel, it was a squirrel. This squirrel water skis. That's novelty. It's like the story of the California couple that developed eyeglasses for cats. Like, we don't care. It has no news value, but it's different. You know what I mean? So, you guys need to think about these news values as you're writing your story, deciding what's most important and least important, and you're making the choices. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
Would novelty just...
Yeah, maybe you get us to chuckle. I mean, I read a story one time where a guy, it was listed in the newspaper, brand new Mercedes, $200. And it turns out that these couple were having a divorce, and the wife was ordered by the court to sell the brand new Mercedes to give the money to the husband. So she sold it for $200. Wait a buddy, that in the agreement he was supposed to get all the tools because he like owns a contracting firm. And all that the ex left was one little box with a screwdriver in it in the middle of the garage. And she had like taken everything else to the pawn shop. Anyways, that's got novelty, you know what I mean? Like, it makes us laugh, makes us something different. Does that make sense? It's really for the laugh, you know? Something odd. Is that cool? Do we understand what news values are? What are news values? Someone. Yes. No, yeah. Thank you for playing. They're what? Yes, ma'am? Why the audience would care. Those are the news values, right? Why would the audience care? Versus news elements, which are what? 5 W's and the H. Good. I'm probably as confused as you, so it's all good. But it is very important that when it comes time for me to grade the test, I know the difference, okay? So it matters to you that you know the difference. Okay, great. Inverted pyramid, you're putting most important to least important. We're doing a summary. This is a review. You've already read this. You've already talked about it. You already know this. That you have the news elements, 5 W's and the H. The who, what, when, where, and how, why. How. Why, usually it's not a summary lead. It's either self-evident or you can wait for the why, okay? And the how, too. Generally, it's going to be less than 30 words. The lead needs to be easy for us to understand, all right? Because, man, I'm just cruising. I grabbed the vidette on the way from the first floor to the fourth floor, and I know my fat butt should be walking the stairs, but I'm riding the elevator, and I grabbed the vidette, and I often look for the AP stories, the breaking news of the day on page somewhere between 3 and 8, and I'm looking at it, and I want to read leads quick. Because when I get off the elevator, I put it in recycling a lot of times, and I'm on my merry way. Does that make sense? So I'm not dumb, but I do want it on a 5th grade level, right, Joe? I just want to get the idea, and I need to move on with my life, right? So make it easy for understand. Also, on the lead, use active voice. What is that? Raise your hand. What is active voice? Okay, man, we got to get this. It's on the test. Active voice is the subject acts on an object. All right? How about this? Sunflowers was painted by Van Gogh is passive. It should be Van Gogh painted sunflowers. Okay? The word by is a tell. Man, you got to write that down. This is on the test. It's on there twice. On the midterm, twice on the final. Active voice is what? Raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Subject acts as object.
Subject acts on the object, right? Woody spray painted the side of the school. Not the side of the school was spray painted by Woody. All right? Do you understand? The subject is the actor, and they do something to something else. How many saw, man, Sons of Anarchy? Anybody watch it? Did you watch it this week? It's on again. The subject acts on the object. It's a repeat. You got to know that. You got to love it. You got to live it. There's an example in the book. Go ahead, sir. It is important to think about who your target audience. Don't write any of this down. Just write target audience is the largest possible audience. Just assume it's for the general public, everybody that's ISU, everybody that's at Bloomington. All right? General public. Okay? And we'll talk more about target audience later. Go ahead. In this one, we're saying what is the intended message? And obviously it's to inform here, is it not? Don't write all this down. You don't need to. What I want to do is I want to jump to history of inverted pyramids. So go to that. Well, jump to that Prezi. It's 161, history of inverted pyramid. Tell me about it. I asked you to read. What did I ask you to read on Monday? Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am? The history of inverted pyramid. You guys ready for the quiz? Yeah? This guy, I know you are, man.
Yeah.
Are you Sam? No, do I expect that you read it?
Yeah.
I demand that you read it. Who wrote it? Hopper. What is the history of the inverted pyramid? Where did it start? Yeah, go ahead. Allow. Go. The history of the inverted. We're going to talk about crafting a well-told story. Go back for a second. Thank you. Crafting a well-told story and how an inverted pyramid works. This is really what she says. Go ahead now, sir. Thank you. History. In 1860s, journalistic techniques during the Civil War. Okay? What technology did we have during the Civil War that we didn't have before? Somebody raise your hand and say it. Yes. Well, we didn't really. That's not relevant to this. What is it? Telegraph. Telegraph is important because we can send information across wires about the results of a battle, right? Well, when they did that, reporters were instructed to place key information first in case there was a break in the line. And really, it kind of developed during the Civil War. Reporters were instructed to place key information first and then move to the descending order of importance. Blank this out for a second. Who does it help to go from most important to least important? The reader. Why does it help the reader? Very good. How does it help the reader? So they can stop reading at any point and they got the essential information, right? Who else's job does it make easy? Yes. The editor. Very good. Why is that? Yeah, it's not a feature. An inverted pyramid story can be cut off at any point. Look, do you know what the most important part of a newspaper is? It's the ads. I'm sorry to break it to you, but 60% of the newspaper to 70% is ads. You know why? Yeah, they get sell things. That's why. You think that the stockholders that own the parent company that owns the newspaper, what are they concerned about? Money. I may own part of a newspaper. I don't know that I do or not. I just know I have a stock portfolio that feeds my retirement account. I don't care what it... Unfortunately, this is the nature of modern corporation. Okay?
Heard about that in COM161.
Yeah, okay, well, it's true. So the bottom line is, are they going to get to keep a story going down there? Are they going to cut off half of the first site ad? No. What are they going to do to the inverted pyramid story? Somebody raise your hand. Yes, sir. So they can cut it off any point. Do you guys understand that? The editor can cut this story off at any point at 6 inches, at 8 inches, at 10 column inches, because we've gotten the most important information already. Does that make sense? Then the editor doesn't have to make decisions. They just go, I got 6 inches, cut the rest. So inverted pyramid allows it easy for the reader and also allows for easy editing, okay? And I also want to say something else about this. Now, AP, what does the AP stand for? Duh. Associated Press. They're a wire service that sells stories, okay? They want those stories to just be factual so that any newspaper, no matter where it lies on the political spectrum, can run the story. Does that make sense? That's why straight news is while there's no such thing as objectivity, we know that. Postman says we should try for it. And when we're posting stories in Associated Press, they should be as objective as we can attempt to be, okay? And that's why we're just doing the facts in inverted pyramid. So that any paper, whether it's a liberal editorial staff or a conservative editorial staff, can pick up the AP story, rip it, and put it in the newspaper, okay? So bring this back up. Thank you very much, Mr. Porter. Yeah, man, just so it's on the screen. Can you not just hit B again? Yeah. But yeah, can we go back to why we have it? The slide that we were on?
I'm not sure where you want me to go.
Okay, the slide that we were on, the history of inverted pyramid. Okay, here, man. That's all right. You're doing it. That's cool. Okay, this guy's got a hard job trying to follow me. Give it up for Mr. Porter doing the best work he can. Following Mikhail's like following Speedy Gonzalez, right? It's just tough. All right. But here, we talk about how the paragraphs are formed. We have our first paragraph, which starts with a summary lead, right? And then we have the news elements. This is all a review for you, is it not? You guys know this. The who, what, when, where, and why. And you put the most important information first, right? So that I can go on and read that lead, decide if I want to read more, and then I can head on out. And then a lot of times, what's most important is the climax. Who won the game? You know, that's, in inverted pyramid, we're almost putting the climax of the story first, all right? Let's just bank that and realize it right now. We're going to shift from that later, but for the sake of us doing our first story, the climax is almost that summary lead, okay? The second paragraph, it builds on the lead, okay? And you do want to try to keep your reader encourage them to keep reading. Here's where you might have a direct quote from somebody who was there that catches the emotion of the moment. You might have some kind of statistics. This is the first time ISU has gone 0-2 in 5 years or something, you know? So that we keep reading. Or our coach's call, is it SPAC? SPAC? Raise your hand and say it. Yes. Yeah, he might say, let me tell you what's wrong with our team right now. We have no defense, and here's why. And then I want to read the third paragraph, which is like, what city is our defense on a different bus and winds up in Cincinnati instead of winding up at Eastern Illinois where they were supposed to play a game this weekend or what? Anyways, I want to keep reading. Explain to me what's wrong with our defense. Is anybody football players in here? Okay, good, because I respect football players, but come on, man. About season tickets. You're destroying Woody's perception of the ISU Redbirds. You're going to have to make Reggie Redbird like 3 foot tall if they keep this up. Anyways, I encourage them to keep reading. In subsequent paragraph, you got the body of the story in descending order of importance with a variety of direct quotes. They could also use indirect quotes and some descriptive details to say about description. And we got a guest coming in next Wednesday that it's better to be descriptive than it is to use your own modifiers. Okay? I mean, I could say to you, it was a horrifying scene. But I don't know what's a horrifying scene for you. I could say there was the smell of burning flesh, the sound of screaming children, also the faint aroma of flesh that's rotten, bullets that were whizzing by, and then you can make your own decision. You find that horrifying? Yeah, okay, good. Well, you've made up your own mind. All I've done is describe the situation, and then I let you judge it. Do you understand? So don't judge it for the readers. Describe it, and let the readers come to their own conclusion. For some people, they might find that not horrifying, but their element, you know. If you're a Navy SEAL, man, that might be where you thrive. I don't know. For me, it would be horrifying, but I'd be judging it, wouldn't I? And that's not my job as a writer of a straight news story to judge it. I describe it using descriptive language and want my readers judge it, all right? Go ahead, let's continue to talk about this. As a reporter, judgment calls. And that you are making choices. What information should be in the lead? Supporting the information, the order of information is critical. You got to be able to defend your decision. Put this first, this second, this third, this fourth, okay? Supporting order is critical. The story should be unified. And we'll talk about unifying our stories. But there's just a certain flow that we want. We want it to make it easy that we're flowing from most important to least important. Unity can be achieved through transitions. If you quote our coach, then you go, Eastern Illinois' coach had a different perspective. You know, and whatever Coach Davis said, comma, open quotation marks, it wasn't that their defense was so bad, it's that our offense is so awesome, period, close quotation. So you can use transition words between graphs to unify the story together. Reminders. Inverted pyramid is essential. You know, it's particularly essential as we move in technology. So if you go to a website, and it's some kind of news, what's usually there on that first page of a news website?
Top story.
The top stories. And how much of the top stories? Like a little slug? Maybe a lead, right? And then what does it say? Click right here to read more, which is like having the essential elements in a summary lead and then giving them more later. You see what I'm saying? So it's very important. I mean, even when we talk about Twitter, I mean, how many characters do I got in a Twitter line? 140 or less. Well, I better be able to concisely say what the most important element is here and then get people hooked, and then maybe I can give them other facts in ascending order of importance, and then maybe my opinion. All right? But as we move into computer technology and Twitter, that kind of social media as well, I mean, you know, it's only going to show so much on the Facebook. And then to read more. You see that a lot on your Facebook, right? I always try to get it in. I don't know how long that is. Do you guys know? Too long, but you get what I'm saying? I mean, I want my whole idea to be there on my Facebook, not to read more, but I want to try to get it in concisely, right? So anyways, I guess the inverted pyramid is essential to public relations writing, straight news, and increasingly as information technology increases, it's a good tool. And also, readers want my information quickly. I got lots of stuff to do. I mean, you know, I can't even say how many things I've already done today. I've done like 9 things today, and and this is my 10th thing. I don't have a lot of time to delve into news stories. I just want to know whether we actually dropped some bombs on Syria or not, you know? And I'm going to go along with my day or whatever. Man, again, mass media is ubiquitous. Tell me why your stuff is important, and then I got to move on, all right? And then write in a clear, concise manner. I think that's a good idea, don't you? Cool. All right. Some reminders. And this is important in how the inverted pyramid works. Can you go back to where you were in the last Prezi? Yeah. He can try. He can do it. There you go. All right, so we're about ready. Are you guys, how many people have revised, rewritten, repeated? Keep doing it. I mean, you're on the line here. And I can't emphasize how this can be a really hard first assignment. When we denote that someone said something, should that be present or past tense? Never present, man. Past. Said. Remember? They said it. Do you remember? How many people remember? Said. Past tense. Right? Just kind of reviewing stuff that we're doing. Did you say said past tense? Yeah, of course you did, right? Good. Yeah, both of you. All of yous. All of yous did said past tense, right? All right. Yes, ma'am. Here's a question. Summer. You know, if she's got it, it's a good question. Rock on.
Well, it's not my question, but when I went to the Visor Center, they told me that said should be at the end of it, and I kept putting it at the beginning. I'd be like, said, you know, coach whatever. But it's supposed to be like coach whatever said.
It can be either. It's a stylistic. Both are correct.
Which one are you incorrect?
It depends on where it's at, right? Mikhail said Mikhail. Either one's acceptable. I looked it up 2 weeks ago, and said can be before or after. Yes, sir.
So we may have mentioned this in the beginning, but for future reference, we need to make your Visor Center appointment. Make sure you request an AP style advisor. Because some are English advisors.
Yeah, and they are going to help you. I talked about the Visor Center. They can't be expected to catch everything, but they're very helpful. And if they make the story a little bit better, that's good. But he is right that it's better to say, can I get somebody that knows Associated Press style? And if anybody, here's the deal. If anybody here wants to be, get a job over there, I have students that come out of here, they do assistant stuff, and then I recommend the Advisor Center hire them, and now they're grad students, you know? Not you, but Sarah Jamie, right? Yeah. And she's a grad student now. So it's a route, and it's a job. So push AP, but no matter who reads your story, they're not going to catch everything. They're just going to help you make it a little bit better, okay? But it is wise to ask for an Associated Press. Someone that knows Associated Press.
Associated Press, you're supposed to add at the end.
What's that?
He said with Associated Press, you're supposed to add said after the...
Okay, it can also be said. Either one. I looked it up last week. AP says it can be either be before or after. Okay, guys, other questions? Wait, don't. Come on, seriously, don't pack up your stuff. We got a couple minutes here. We talked already about indirect and direct quotes. Go ahead. Keep going, sir. All right, well, that's it. Why don't you blank that out? Yeah, shut it off. All right, man, this is the big thing. How many points is this worth? Come on, just relax, okay? You gotta go. Okay, you can go. If you want. Other questions as we get near the end of this?
Do you have office hours on Thursday?
Not necessarily, but I can make office hours. I pick up Maggie at 9:10 at the bus stop, but I can. But I'm not going to look at your stuff until your editors have. You don't want to bring it to your publisher until your editors have taken a look at it. When can they bring stuff to you? At the beginning of class? Are you gonna? When are you guys doing office hours tomorrow?
Yeah.
What time?
And then today I'm here until 9.
In your office until 9? Wow. Hey guys.
Getting kind of late in the game. I kind of would have preferred it to be earlier, but shoot me an email if you need me. We can maybe work something out.
Okay guys, here again, I'm going to repeat something, okay? Revise, rewrite, and repeat. Keep doing it. When in doubt, check the... When it comes to quality writing, what should you be thinking about? Is it clear, concise, correct, and complete? All right, good luck on your first